If you're here, it means that you want to know about e-commerce SEO. I'm going to do my best today to walk you through, from a high level, a strategy that you can look into and begin to execute for yourself. And today, for the sake of demonstration purposes, I'm going to go through a little bit of keyword research, pretending that I have a rug store. So let's do just that today. Again, you're going to see practical things that you can apply. The tools that we're going to use is Ahrefs primarily. And then, I will give you pretty much the blueprint that you can take with you. Executing on that blueprint for yourself is not easy. So just note that this is a strategy, which is key. You have to start from the strategy level, and then execution, I don't know what they say, evils in the details or whatever, but, we'll go through that a little bit. Anyway, let's start. The hardest part is starting. Get that out of the way, and the journey is much easier. I love that quote. All right, so let's jump into kind of the three areas that you need to know about your e-commerce SEO blueprint. The first one is choosing the right keywords from an e-commerce perspective and strategy. So we'll go through that. This is how, the question that you need to answer is, how are people browsing, looking, and potentially going to be finding your products that you have? It's a very key question, okay? Number two, executing on those page template types. We'll get into those and sending those to Google. That's also very key. Doing this at scale, because most likely, if you have an e-com shop, you're not just targeting one particular product. You might have thousands of SKUs, and you need to get those to Google, okay? And then number three, which is building PR for yourself and building up your brand, because most e-commerce shops have a brand that they're building with it, and if they don't, they're making a pretty grave mistake. And yes, your PR strategy is huge when it comes to your SEO blueprint. So let's get into some keyword research. So I've already kind of outlined a little bit of the strategy that I know is going to happen, presumably, when we have a rug brand. But I'm going to walk you through how I kind of arrived at these. So we've got a couple of keyword types that I was essentially not notified, that I was noticing when it came to doing the keyword research. One that came up was a keyword that looked like this, red area rugs, and another one was wool rugs 8x10. I consider these all product category pages, and so when I say product category, I mean they're pages that people browse and get ideas around. So they're not looking for an individual product. But we're going to go through that right now, and I'm going to show you that. So the way that I kind of arrived at some of this is I just kind of went through Ahrefs and I just searched for green area rugs. Okay, it could be anything. Let's say it's also, I don't know, red area rugs. It's totally fine. What I did is I scrolled down to look at the SERPs, and I kind of just found the lowest DR site that's there, that's doing well, because that tells me that Google is preferring this site. I might look at revival rugs here. You can see that one as well, or well woven. I would look at some of these to get some ideas. What I'm sort of doing is I'm not really doing keyword research yet. I'm getting an idea of, again, how are people finding the products that I sell? And I want to get an idea about that, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to take a look at the site as a whole. So this one's Rugs Direct. I'm actually familiar with this brand. Potentially you are too. And, okay, they're doing great. So what I want to do is I actually want to scroll down to top pages down here. And again, what I'm doing here is I'm not exporting all the keywords yet. We're not going to get into the execution strategy because that's like a whole thing. We'll tap into it a little bit on the execution side. But I really want you to get a better understanding of the concept first. Because if you understand the concept, you can make repeatable SEO strategies and repeatable SEO tests that can help you to succeed, and I want you to succeed. So what I'm noticing are a couple of things. One, modern is a keyword in my mind, not a keyword just on the right, but in my mind, like a trigger that's saying, okay, that's a style. Okay, so people are searching for styles of area rugs. And then I see sizes, 9x12, so people are searching for sizes. I see coastal, that's another style. And then I see also needs, so it might be living room, kitchen, etc. All of this is giving me a pretty good idea right now already of how people are searching Google for what they're looking for. they're not looking for individual products, at least for rugs. Like, for example, they're not looking for a SKU number or a product or a style number. If you have a store that has products like that, like let's say you have a pair of Vans shoes that have, or Nike shoes that have a particular style number, then you might want to optimize individual product pages for SEO as well. But in this case, in a rug situation, we're only going to be focusing on product category pages because that's seemingly how most people are shopping for them. But the concept is roughly the same. So that's good. And how you execute and optimize those pages for both individual products as well as product categories like this is still kind of roughly the same. But this is a good starting point. Like, I'm a store owner, and this is a good starting point for me because now I'm understanding, I'm like, okay, well, I have all these rugs, and how are people finding my rugs, or how should they find my rugs? So what this might indicate for me to do based on this research is to start adding metadata to my rugs to ensure that they have style types to them. Like, are they farmhouse style? Are they round? What size are they? Things like that, to make sure that the data that I'm working with within my database of products is something that I could manipulate and put onto the page. Okay? So cool. So our strategy is primarily going to be focusing on product category pages rather than individual products, to recap. And we've got a general idea of kind of how people are searching. So what does it end up kind of looking like? It sort of ends up probably looking something like this, like large green area rugs, as an example, would be a page that kind of looks like this. And you've seen this. This is a search page. So let's look at one more example here. Rugs.com has a search page. You can see they have a lot of different pills here for sizes, shapes, things like that. Generally, this is going to be your search tool. So if you have an e-com store, this is what people use to search for a rug. It's the actual end page that we need to make indexable by Google, and we need to ensure that those end pages are not only just indexable, but also SEO optimized. So if I select one here, let's see if it does it. Great, it did it. You can see that the H2 here changed to green 5x8 rugs, which, as we noted, people search for our products using size variations and color variations, red and 8x10. So that creates that page. Now, they've made a little bit of a mistake though, because if you look in the URL, there's not an individual page for green 5x8 area rugs. So actually, rugs.com has an SEO opportunity right here, because they need to make sure that that page is indexable by Google, and the only way to do that is to give it its own URL. And so that's where this gets a little bit complicated, because you'll probably have to have a developer involved to do this, and someone on the SEO strategy side to help oversee the execution of it. Someone like myself, a professional, okay? But now we have a general sense of how this kind of works. We have size variations, shape variations, and even style variations. You can see styles here. So if I do farmhouse, great, we can actually see that the URL changed to being this query parameter. A query parameter is something with a question mark and then some criteria in it. The downside is that, again, that's probably not very indexable by Google, but we can see that the title is changing here, which is a very good thing. Let's also scroll down and see that they don't really have any custom content on the page, which could be a great way for us to compete in the future, is to basically just have more content and custom content around green farmhouse rugs. Things like how to style your room, or how to choose the best rug. That would be a way for us to potentially compete and increase our chances of ranking against big behemoths like rugs.com if we were a smaller store. Okay, so now we generally have like a page type that we could start to execute on. This would be a request that maybe we make to developers. We would say, hey, we've organized all of our pages. We have this tool, our search tool, that allows us to filter by a lot of different pieces of criteria: rug size, price, color, shape, etc. The request would be to the developer, we need to ensure that every single page is indexable by Google, and so we'd like to give it its own specific URL and put that into the sitemap. And then for every single page that we have, we would like for it to have its own custom CMS opportunities, so our SEOs can go in there and add custom content. That would be the request. Okay, cool. So let's say, for example, you're like, well, I have a newer store and I get it now. I get now that if I have a rug store, people are going to be searching for my rugs in these various types of ways. You don't really need to execute like every single page as pragmatically as you might think. When you have rugs, like let's say you have a product category, or sorry, a product catalog. Product catalog is the right phrase, of let's say like 1,000 rugs, and you have organized them by shape, color, style, etc. You will naturally start to hit some of the keywords when you execute what I'm talking about here without really needing to think about it too much. Sometimes it's very helpful from a large-scale SEO execution strategy to track those in spreadsheets, yes, and to ensure that every single keyword is tracked, yes. But if you're having just a starting point, just think about what products that you have available and what types of pages like this that you can create from your product catalog, and then just make sure that those are indexable, okay? All right, so let's keep going. So before you start, a really key thing here to note is we're using Ahrefs. That's the tool that we're going to use. And why building PR for yourself is really important. So if we were a brand that was already well known, do we still need to do PR? Like, yes, you need to maintain that position. But let's say you don't have a big brand. Well, green area rug, if you look off to the left, it says this is an easy keyword to win. Well, that's actually not very true. Ahrefs oftentimes tells us things like this. It says, oh, this is going to be easy for you to win. But actually, like when we look at the actual SERP, it's called, which is further down the page in Ahrefs, what you can see is that you have the DR here of some pretty high, like some big websites, okay? And when we look off to the left, we see Home Depot, Amazon, Wayfair, Target. It's going to be very difficult to compete against those types of brands. This is why PR is important, is because you don't need to have more PR than Home Depot or Amazon per se, but you definitely need to start to get closer to that level. And if you don't do that, let's say presumably you were building a rug brand, then you're going to have just a more difficult time executing SEO. And so PR is very critical to make sure that you're getting the influencers that are talking about you, other interior design companies talking about you, partnerships, all sorts of things that are very critical to building up that brand. Okay, it's not building up just your backlinks, it's building up that brand. So notice that. Notice how we had this very easy keyword, which is incorrect, and how competitive the space would actually be to execute in it. Excuse me, I need to take a drink. Okay. So typically your e-commerce budget is going to look something like this. It's going to say SEO and PR. I actually realistically think it's about $120,000 in a year that you might end up spending. Your social media marketing, which I think 24 is probably okay. You're going to do that, especially if you have an interior design company like rugs. And then your paid media budget, which is going to be pretty big. So let's say, for example, we did, green rugs. What we can see here is that a majority of the search results are paid advertisements. We have one row here of paid advertisements and another row here, another cluster here. So paid advertisements is going to be a big part of your strategy. And it may already be today, which is why you're searching for this video. Of course, SEO can help to offset some of that paid media budget or that, the paid advertisement budget that you're probably using. And that's a great strategy. So pages like down here, which people do end up clicking on, not a ton, but keep in mind, the production of each one of our pages, these pages, is not by hand. We're not having a writer write it. We're having a machine produce these pages programmatically based on our filterable results, and we are ensuring that those pages are indexable by Google. So really what we're talking about, the most critical part here, is our SEO strategy and not each individual page like we were creating blog posts. Because again, coming back to the starting point, we've noticed this is a majority of where the traffic is coming to drive actual sales. They're not coming from blog posts. And that's very clear and evident based on the keywords. These are people looking for actual products. These are people who have a need. Like, I know that my room is 10 by 14, so I need to find a rug for it. So coming back to this, you want to offset some of that paid advertising budget with SEO, and I think that's a great starting point. But let's say, for example, you had $0 and you want to compete. Well, how do you go ahead and do that? I'm going to come back here to one of our big competitors, and that is Rugs Direct, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change this up a little bit, and just please watch what I do. Okay. I'm going to say keyword difficulty 0 here. Okay. And okay, I am looking. Okay. I'm going to go about this a different way. So I'm actually going to start like this. Okay. And I'm actually just going to start from area rugs as a starting point. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up this keyword ideas panel. And I'm actually going to open up the lowest DR setting in here rather than keyword difficulty. Keyword difficulty is off to the left, but as we can see from this above, keyword difficulty is not always matching the level of competitiveness in the actual SERPs itself. So I'm going to put just 15 as an example, and let's see what comes up. Okay, interesting. So gray area rugs, it's telling me that there's actually some pages on this search result that have low domain ratings. So let's look at that real quick. I'm just going to open up a couple of these keywords. Okay. So as I scroll down back to that same area that I was showing you with the SERPs, I can actually see one website with a low domain rating is ranking somehow for gray area rugs, which is very cool. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to click on it, and I am going to check out why this is ranking. So let's go ahead and look. Note that you can see this is, much like we said, this is a search page that has an indexable URL, collections/gray. You can organize that in a number of different ways. That's, again, where you're going to need that developer. They have an opportunity for some internal linking here. I can see that right away. But they're doing okay a little bit with their H1s, their H2s. They're optimizing this page for SEO. So let's just scroll. Okay, these are definitely gray rugs. That's cool. Okay. So this is why they're winning. They've put some custom content at the bottom of the page. And so that's an execution strategy, meaning, like I mentioned, every single page will be a part of the CMS, and we'll have someone from the SEO team actually execute putting custom content on this page. So I might note that. I might say to myself, I can actually win gray area rugs by simply just being more competitive than the others. So if I were to go to Rugs Direct, Home Depot, etc., most likely I'm not going to see this level of custom content at the bottom. You're going to say to yourself, well, can I use AI for that and all that stuff? Let's not talk about that today. But what I would recommend is not using AI. You want to find info gain opportunities on these pages, and that's probably the reason why that's ranking. Okay, let's keep going. This is coastal area rugs. Okay. So we got a DR of 4. Let's open this up. Okay, same thing. We've got essentially collections/rugs, but it says coastal compass home decor. So interestingly enough, this search is actually almost all coastal rugs. So this must be a store specifically for coastal rugs, which is certainly helping them quite a bit. And that may be the only reason why. So no custom content on the page, on the bottom of the page, but this is simply winning because it's just all coastal style home decor, and that's the reason why it's winning. So definitely an interesting strategy if you're thinking about a store that you want to create, and maybe it's just all coastal designs. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Southwestern area rug. Okay, as I scroll down, the cabin shack. Let's open that one up and figure out why that one's happening. Okay, Southwestern rugs. Interesting. Okay, so we can see here are the actual products. So it is a saved search page, but they've actually added this snippet of custom content at the top. So that's definitely winning in terms of having some custom content at the top. So this is a very not very good store, but the SEO execution is pretty good. Keep in mind, you're probably going to want to do that across every single page that you have, and that would probably be a very good opportunity. So what you can note, based on how I did that, I put the lowest DR up to 15, okay, and it must be in the top 5. And what this shows me is that essentially I can compete with some of these keywords. So if I were just starting with a few, and I just wanted to create a few pages for my SEO strategy and start this off without a budget of any kind, these would be some good keywords to begin with. And I might put an overemphasized amount of effort into that page than anybody else has. And here's the reason why. Because if you note, it's very competitive. So you have to create a better page than Home Depot, Rugs Direct, Amazon, Wayfair, etc. As long as you do that, you do have a better chance of competing against them. So focus on some custom content opportunities, maybe things like ideas, how to style your home, influencer videos that are on those pages, all sorts of different things. But again, you're targeting a specific term with that strategy just to begin. At scale, which is really where you're going to win, and that's things like how Rugs Direct did it, you kind of need a more comprehensible SEO strategy with that, and it's going to need to be a bit more detailed. So I hope this was helpful. If you have a store that you're starting to create, or maybe you already have one today, this video should show you how to look at some competitors, get an idea of how people are finding your products, and thinking about how to align your store with how people are discovering your product types and entering into your store and then turning into buyers, okay? That's generally gonna be your SEO strategy and how to use Ahrefs here to figure out how to essentially look at competitors, determine how to get some ideas, and how to organize, probably a 3 to 6 month roadmap that you might execute to be able to start driving some results. Note, I do this for people if you want me to. I do have a service as a consultant where I help people to build their brands or start new ones. It can either be a niche site or a total e-commerce site. It's totally fine. Happy to get you started or to execute some of these bigger professional strategies that we're talking about here. Typically, a $15,000 minimum investment for that is about right, especially when you're talking about e-com and all the things that you need to do with e-com. And then sometimes I just do some of the content strategies. So if you are an e-commerce store and you want to try to bring people in through blog posts, it is a good method. It's not going to be your best method to driving revenue, but in terms of discoverability and share of voice, it's definitely a way to do that. Meaning you can bring in people, if you had a rug store, who are looking about cleaning their rug, and that could hopefully help them to click through to go to your homepage and to find rugs to actually check out. By doing some blog posts, it does help for you to be able to gain the trust of a general consumer. And by them kind of feeling your trust and feeling your expertise, they might be more willing to purchase your products. And in fact, that's typically how it happens. Okay, so if you got here and you are from my other videos, note that I do cover a ton of black hat stuff, and this is a bit more white hat. This is a bit more of your very large scale professional SEO white hat execution. And I hope that it was helpful. But if you are here and you're one of my black hatters, I hope the charts are going up and to the right. And remember, all the other SEOs are playing with Tonka trucks. Hugs and kisses. Have a good day.